Now, this section is kind of infinite, as there are many things in fighting games that can be considered gimmicks. And at the same time, anything that can be considered a gimmick could also be a legitimate, worthwhile tool in a situation in which the opponent is not mentally prepared to stop it. Generally, what I mean by gimmick is something that might be strong until you learn how to deal with it. That is, something that can be abused until you have the knowledge to beat it and the skill to execute upon that knowledge consistently in a match. The reason why I'm putting gimmicks before a lot of other very important general stuff that you need that will help you level up your game is because when you start a new fighting game, the first thing that you'll encounter are the gimmicks. You know, low ranks will be filled with people using gimmicks. Some easy-to-execute thing that takes advantage of unaware players, you know, or is easy to execute but maybe hard to deal with. See, most fighting games tend to have some basic fundamentals, at least. If you play one fighting game, those skills largely cross over into other fighting games too. But even if your fundamentals are amazing and you can be a god at any game you play, when you go to a fighting game you haven't played before, what kicks your ass first and foremost, even if you're already above a beginner level in terms of your fundamentals, it's the gimmicks. You know, if you get caught by shit, you're like, wait, what? What just happened? And yeah, you could just consider this to be basic lab work if you really want to harp on my definition of the term, but in any case, I will go through a lot of low-level gimmicks, how to beat them, and practice beating them. And in general, how to lab a gimmick if you run into another one in the future, because this ends up being a fair amount of fighting games. If there's something you don't strictly know how to beat that seems very abusable, if you don't know how to beat it, it may very well be abused against you at some point. It might be highly situational, or it might be their entire game plan. So let's get started. One thing to keep in mind, like I said, gimmicks, don't think of them in necessarily like an intent, like a negative light. Like, these are things that you just have to learn in order to deal with them, but don't think of losing to them as necessarily a bad thing. In a sense, they're knowledge checks / it can be difficult due to other circumstances to deal with some of these gimmicks, and that's why they're used. You know, there'll be different online gimmicks as opposed to in-person gimmicks due to the connection issues that online might warrant. But anything that occurs can catch you off guard. See, that's the thing, is that anything is a gimmick until the opponent is not prepared to stop it. Even the most talented player that is like read the game like a book, totally prepared for everything, if you put enough shit on their plate, even if they are stopping your gimmicks, if there's a gimmick that you have to deal with and you have to consistently like respond to it accordingly and punish it accordingly, even if you do it every single time, it still has the benefit to your opponent of the fact that it's taking up mental energy in order to be prepared of it, to have that in your memory banks, maybe react to something. You have to, on some level, use some of your mental stack, some of your cognitive focus in order to deal with that gimmick. So if they throw enough gimmicks at you, it can wear you down over time, which is, in a psychological sense, a legitimate game plan. So I just don't think of losing to gimmicks or using gimmicks as something taboo or shallow or anything like that. There is legitimate purpose, and everything can be applied in a way to manipulate the opponent, and that's overall the main goal of a fighting game. You want to control and manipulate the opponent. But whatever. So, the way I'll do this is I'll go through every single character currently in the game and portray a gimmick that they have access to. If I can think of one, or if I care. Like, if some characters have very similar gimmicks, like multiple characters have like a slide, I'm only going to show you one of them. Some of them might be more legitimate tools or strategies than others, but if they're pretty commonplace in low ranks and can give you a hard time, I'll try to talk about them. A couple of the gimmicks that a Ryu player might do. So one of them is, some Ryu players will, do this. They'll anti-air with parry. And, you know, sometimes they'll be plus. Sometimes you might be plus. It just depends on the situation. But Ryu can cancel his parry, if it's successful, into another parry or into a special move, or like a V-trigger activation, or like other things like that. So, in that sense, it can be annoying and awkward, but generally just like treat it like a defensive position. You can lab out the frame data or the exact situations. It's kind of a pain just in training mode, but it can be done. But one of the main things that you can do... See, now, if an opponent is going to... Like, a Ryu player is going to parry anti-air you, it probably means that he could have anti-aired you legitimately, which means that it's not like a... It's your fault for being there in the first place. Like, you deserve to get anti-aired, most likely, but... There are certain situations where you can abuse jumping situations. Like, if you're close enough to, like, jump for a cross-up, and you abuse that, and maybe your opponent anti-airs you normally, but maybe they're not as skilled at dealing with your cross-ups, or doing a cross-cut anti-air if they're Ryu, or you have some, like, weird movement trick that you can use to avoid the DP or something like that. There might be a number of situations where it's just awkward for them, or if they're in the corner, it can be difficult for a Ryu player to cross-cut, so he might do the parry to beat a jumping cross-up. Anyway, so there might be situations where you have a decent way to jump in on the opponent, but the Ryu player might do this. Now, easy enough solution. Empty jump. Crush counter. Whatever you want. Alternatively, you can just treat it like a normal situation afterwards and play defensively. Maybe do a delay tech, take your turn, do whatever. V-shift afterwards. I don't know, man. But, yeah, just don't be too surprised or shaken up by it. Just, like, treat it like a defensive situation if you see that you just got parried. And just start blocking / throw attacking. I've already covered, like, these, DPs things in but one of the best ways, two of the best tools is do a delay tech or delay button. Oh, wrong timing. And just beat it up. Now sometimes the opponent might try to do like a meterless DP or DP in a weird situation, and those follow similar principles. Just like if he whiffs like a light DP, just see if you can whiff punish him with a crush counter or something. You know, it's guaranteed to counter hit, so keep that in mind when you choose what to punish him with. And yeah. Now in some situations, a Ryu player might parry your action or do defensive parries. Now these can easily be beaten with throws. Baited out, punished. You should probably practice reacting to the animation, because it's not like a very huge animation, but it's definitely long enough width that you can see it and then punish it. So it's worth training your eyes, at least doing a couple of lessons with it to make sure your eyes recognize it and then punish it accordingly. But yeah, you should figure out what options you have. So in this situation, if the Ryu player, it says I'm -4 here, but I have the option to cancel this into this move, so I don't know how this works exactly. I would have to lab it with a human partner, because it's kind of annoying to do it without a human partner to test this shit. But situations like this can be dangerous. Yeah, this is where his parry becomes more dangerous. If he uses it a lot, you don't have to do big stuff like this, because that'll definitely get punished. Chun-Li has a number of potentially gimmicky kind of things, so I'll do some walkbacks into that. Her overhead. So she can get in really easily if she lands this overhead. It's +2 on hit, and it's not punishable on block. So even if you block it, like so, not the best situation. Now you can V-shift this on reaction fairly easily, but it would be better if you can see the startup and then jab it. So you want to practice this. I don't remember it being this ridiculously fast before. I've done this before, and I've definitely, like, consistently reacted and interrupted it. Well, that seems kind of difficult. Anyways, it can be annoying, but like anything in neutral, it has its disadvantages. If you, like, throw in some neutral jumps or some back jumps or forward anything like that, it can be whiff punished. And it can be reacted to and interrupted if you see the situation where he's really going to go for it. Closer you are, the easier it is to interrupt, it seems. Seems like near the end of it, it has some low profile properties. Yeah, there we go. Alright, then we have this move. Down forward heavy kick. We also have V skill 1, which can go into a jump kick like that, or a cross-up jump in. So if you're in this like close range or something, it can still be annoying. So if you're using your walk backwards, yeah, especially depending on your character's anti-air options, can be annoying. Because she floats down so slowly, Bison has this unique option that hits behind him. But the thing about this is that Chun-Li's cross-up, you can just kind of duck it pretty easily if you're going underneath it, and then hit a crouching button. If you're outspacing it, can be good to go for a jump back jab or anything. And the other thing is that she can't hit buttons very quickly immediately. It's not like a jump in where she can hit an attack on the way up. So if you see this, a good option might be to just neutral jump. You'll stop her from going over your head a lot of the time. And you can pretty easily deal some fat damage too. Now, if she does this down forward heavy kick, it's important to remember that the hurt box for this move stays really far forwards in front of you. So you can often anti-air like normal and it'll still hit her. Now, if you don't feel like doing that, the best way to beat it, if it's like going cleanly over your head, is to time a jab. However, it can be inconsistent to do this. You have to be pretty precise with your timing. Your character just has to, right when Chun-Li switches over the side of your head, hit your jab, hit your whatever. Chun-Li's, a lot of Chun-Li's online will often do this strategy where they'll do, I mean, they hit a lot of buttons, but like, for example, they'll do some sequence like, let's see, that. They'll do they'll go backwards and then they'll do their like slow fireball and then they'll use that to approach. Now, it's important to recognize how Chun-Li's slow fireball works. So, if you're in this range, you really cannot contest it much. Like, if I do any, like, much buttons or anything, I'm gonna get beat by the heavy punch. So, she's generally really plus if you block her slow-moving fireball like this. But she's not plus enough to get a dash up. So if you just walk out of her range or anything, it should be fine. Now, if you're not in her range for her heavy punch after the throw, how can she get a dash up? So that's not going to work. So we're outside of her heavy punch range. We have no real reason to not press a button. So that one was plus enough for her to do that. So here, about here, if I block the fireball at this range and she dashes up, she's going to be plus. But there's a window in between there, outside of her heavy punch, of the range where she still can hit you and frame trap with you with heavy punch, but still inside the range where she can dash up on you. That's where we want to be. Beyond that, she can't enter into this range with a dash up and still beat our neutral jump. We can be outside the range of her heavy kick as well, and we can just neutral jump it as soon as we see the fireball, really like fast reaction, come down. She can't dash in on us there. It's not going to happen. So using these techniques, and if she's at full screen, easy. Just as soon as she throws the fireball, just jump over it. Same situation. She can't really anti-air, but she can't dash up and take that space either. So we'll approach, we'll get nearby her, and she'll have to do something else. And her fireball's still on screen, so she can't throw another fireball. Now her EX fireball is really strong, and like it's not as easy to deal with. But yeah, just in these situations, a lot of Chun-Li players online, like their default game plan is just throw the light fireball and then just use it as like a shield, move forwards, and then like dash up and throw a bunch or do anything. And they'll never approach without the fireball. Like they'll always just do a block string into buttons, another fireball, then approach. Block string, buttons, not approach it, fireball, approach. You know, same pattern over and over. So you can use this to identify the situations where you can beat dash ups if she's not plus enough for a dash up. So, and beyond those, if she's close enough for heavy punch, just be patient and take the thing. And if she dashes up, like tech the throw or whatever, you know, do your normal defensive situation. If you're within her frame trap range, you still have to guess like any other character. But outside of her frame trap range, there's a lot of things that you can do. Neutral jump, anything like that. You want to stay within these ranges where you can neutral jump here, or you can forward jump from here. A lot of things that you can do to beat her her fireball abuse. And that includes after a frame trap. So if she did like a back medium punch then into a light fireball, well, if she does that enough times, one, she's not in dash range. If she does back medium punch, light fireball, she's not plus enough for a dash. So she'll just do heavy punch or nothing else. So however, if she's in a range where she is plus enough for a light fireball or something, and she can get a dash or anything like that, if she does it enough times, you can still just beat it. I mean, she's not great at beating cross-up jump-in angles anyways, because her back heavy kick hits pretty high above her head, but it's still not how her toolkit is necessarily designed to deal with. So a lot of things you can do to stop her from doing it. You identify the fireball spacings and when she's doing them, and those are the real trap. Once you block the fireball, that is not your turn. Like, if you block it, shut up, stop, don't take your turn there. You want to stop the fireball before it happens, or, like, respect it in safe, logical ways. But a lot of people will be tempted into taking action immediately after blocking the fireball. Same with Guile. They'll be like, block his string and then block his fireball, and then take a button. And that's why they get hit by knee bazooka over and over. Not your turn. Their fireballs are incredibly plus. Alrighty, so with Mika, 3 things I want to cover. So she does the drop kick. You respond to it, and you knock it out of the air. You swat it. Now, some characters have unique options that they might want to do for some reason. Not sure what Bison's would be. Sometimes you can neutral jump it like this, if you're fast on your reactions. The slowest reaction you can do is just like swat out of the air, and I also find it to be the most reliable and safest to do. But yeah, you can do that. You can do that. And it'll give you a big punish. So even if you respond late to it or anything. Backdash on reaction. There's a million ways to beat this, but you can't, like, if you see it, maybe you just hold up back. Up back is more likely to get out of there than holding neutral jump or forward jump. But you can also get punished for doing this, and it doesn't beat the move, so yeah, jabbing it is the easiest way to deal with it. If you block it, you can V-reversal it if you have a strike-based V-reversal. So Mika has these, like, obnoxious jump-ins. That'll beat my anti-air very consistently. In fact, a lot of her jumping moves tend to beat your anti-airs. He's a very abusable jump-in character. But any character that halts their momentum in the air for a second, you can still air-to-air them. Because you're meeting them, you know, you don't have to worry about how fast they'll come down. And for the splash, if it drops, you know, it is punishable. Now, if she's coming in like this, you might want to backdash, and it can avoid like her jumping attacks that she might be doing, and you might still be in range to whiff punish some characters more than others. Like so. You can also go underneath if you're closer to the jump in. Lots of low rank Mikas love waking up with armor. So let's get a knockdown and then... Oh shit, we got armored. Well, if we time our meaties perfectly... It's not an issue. Because the armor doesn't start up immediately. Or, if we wait and bait it out, which we can use the same tactics that we would use for a DP, so do a delay jab, delay tech. Very punishable. Now, since this goes forwards instead of up, like a lot of DPs, we can neutral jump on our wake up to like try to bait out a throw tech, and if this whiffs, we probably won't be able to punish it, but it's a nice thought. Maybe we can. Maybe let's try some stuff out. I don't think we can, but whatever. Or we can do the safe thing of just doing meaty throw, bro, because it ignores armor. We don't have to time it particularly well. Just do it. Just do it. It's pretty safe. Just do it. Rashid, mainly, you just have to figure out where a lot of his moves are punished, like which ranges and distances he's punishable from. But, he'll do a lot of stuff. Like, he'll do, okay, there's a couple of things that, if the Rashid player makes mistakes, like that, so he might cancel into a whirlwind or something. So, first of all, you can interrupt this, and you'll want to practice reacting to that. But, second of all, if he manages to get this off, but he does the roll too quickly, he's not particularly plus. So you might take your turn afterwards. The final hit of the fireball has to make contact with you for him to be as plus as, like, actually plus. So you can probably throw out your 3-framer in this situation, like so. Now, beyond that, you might also want to avoid the situation to begin with when you see his, like that. And then whiff punish him with something fast if he comes after you. But mainly the safest option is if you're in the corner and he's doing some like canceling nonsense to you. You don't want to deal with that. So you want to react to the EX, the glow, then jump out of there, bro. Now, a lot of Alex players in the low... I mean, first of all, you want to know which elbow slashes are punishable on block. So if he does a light one, he's obviously safe. But a lot of Alex players will zone with these like ones that get knockdowns, like this. And these are... all the ones that get knockdowns are punishable. Most characters should be able to punish them at most ranges. Beyond that, you'll definitely want to practice reacting to this. The stomps. This is less of a... I'm so bad at charge moves. This is less of a gimmick, but because it's a legitimate tool that he has, but you want to identify the spacings. Most of the time he'll be -4 on these. Sometimes he can space it out more closer to your ankles and such, and sometimes it'll be like really high up in your face, in which case it's quite minus. It's usually -5. Any case, block it and punish it. EX1 is, of course, plus. It's faster, so you want to practice reacting to that as well, but I wouldn't call it a gimmick. You can try to react to these and get a punish with a V-shift. And then a lot of Alex players will do this V-trigger hold thing. So it's a guard break on hit, and if you're like a pressuring him or something, oh, you're going to get hit. Oh, so that's going to get hit. Can't cancel into much. So anyways, I mean, think of it like most other parries, but... So in this situation, you can definitely... jump out. I mean, depending on how you want to jump out of the situation. It's more likely to hit you, clip you out of the air than it is to hit you backdashing, but you have to do a more complicated input for backdashing. So if you're out here, it should be fine. If you want to take the risk of the jump out to get out of the way, it should be fine. If you're up close and stuff, just throw. If you're within throw range, just throw. If you're almost within throw range, maybe you want to like walk up throw. But any place that you're sitting, you can just wait and then throw at the last possible moment. And that should beat him if he does the full charge. Because his throw hurt box is massive at that point. It's pretty easy to do. But technically, he could hit you for doing this. He could release slightly sooner and hit you on your throw startup. Very unlikely, but it technically could happen. The absolute safest thing you can do, that there's physically nothing he can do about, is just wait this whole time. If he releases it on block early, then you can just punish him on block. And then at the last moment, V-shift. You can V-shift him holding straight back, so there's no excuse to get hit for anything. This is going to be how a lot of the moves that function this way are going to be handled. We're just going to sit here, and at the last moment, we're going to do that. And if he releases it any time sooner, well, fuck him. So, other characters that work like that. Honda's V-trigger thing, V-trigger 1 that he can charge up, we're going to deal with it the same way. Abigail, V-trigger 1 and 2, we're going to deal with the same way. Sagat, V-trigger 2, we're going to deal with the same way. Yeah, it's very consistent. We just wait until the last moment where it will actually become the guard break, and then we just hit that V-shift. That's only if we have V-shift, though. If we don't have V-shift, we'll have to use one of the other methods, which can differ from character to character. With Akuma, a lot of Akuma players will just do air fireballs all day. Now, the nuances of air fireballs is that, think of it similar to a dive kick. You know, if it hits you near your ankles, Akuma's going to be plus, you know? Now, if the later on he does it, if he does it super early in his jump, like that, even if it hits you at the ankles, he's still not plus. He's still super punishable. So the later on in his jump he does it, slightly better for him, but also he has if he does it really late in his jump like that, and it hits further near your ankles, the more plus he is. So that's basically how it works. The later on he does it in his jump, the further he travels, the more plus he is. But anytime he's like hitting you point blank with the fireball. So if you block it like this, just punish. If you block it like this, just take your turn. But that's only in like these ranges where he might be jumping in. So a lot of anti-airs will get underneath his fireball. If you're like farther out like that, you might try depending on the character. Yeah, if you're slightly further out, where the fireball will be slightly more threatening, but he's still kind of in range for his jump in, you can go like this when he does it and get over at the right angle and pick your correct jump in to deal with it. Now, if you're really, really confident he's gonna go for it, like if you're way back here and there's nothing else for him to really do, or if you're closer and even if he does a regular jump in, you'll go underneath him. Just forward dash. It's the easiest way to get the biggest punish. Now, against his like V-trigger air fireballs and stuff, they're very controlling, so you want to just back off, jump back at the angle, just escape the position. And depending on some of your options, you might have a tool that will beat his that will beat both of his jump in and his air fireball. So, but that's like, you know, more character dependent, because this can get really messy once we start getting character dependent options on as well. Depending on your character, you might have a move that will move you forward slightly. And you can duck underneath it as well, like that. So you have plenty of options, but mainly, if you just stay in that spacing, and, you know, he'll want to air fireball from further away, so it'll be generally clear when he's going to do it, and then you can just, like, neutral jump and do all of this other stuff and beat it, in addition to character-specific options. Beyond that, Akuma will also have a lot of, like, demon flip shenanigan stuff, and a lot of times you might run into people that just, like, loop the same situations and then just do the same block strings and stuff into the overhead or the throw or something. And this, you just have to practice and train your eyes to see the thing and figure out which tools your character has best to deal with it, including the risk of the dive kick option and some other tools that it has. Alrighty, with Kage, you'll see a lot of people just autopilot, because this is a big jumping combo that he can get with Crouch Fierce into the heavy, what do you call it, axe kick, I guess. But when he does Crouching Heavy Punch, he doesn't have anything that he can do that he can cancel into that will beat your 3 or 4 frame buttons. So if you just practice the timing well, that's not true. The only thing that Kage could possibly cancel Crouching Heavy Punch into that would be a frame trap that would threaten you if you mash buttons. So every time he does Crouch Fierce, you can just mash. Mash, 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 whatever. Easy interrupt. The only thing he could possibly do, and I have done this while playing Kage, because I haven't seen any Kage other than myself do this. He can cancel Crouch Heavy Punch into, I believe, Heavy Tatsu, and that will be a frame trap that will beat you if you try to punish him. No Kage player will ever do that. But yeah, just interrupt this. It's free. It's there's nothing he can do to stop you from punishing this. Alrighty, beyond that, we have the V skill. Now, if you're out of range of it, just you know, charge or uncharge version. It's not too hard to whiff punish, but I would practice reacting to it in the... But if you're within range for it, once it actually comes out, it will lose its armor properties, so it's not that difficult to just like jab like this, but it won't armor through low attacks. So if you're within any range for it, if you have a decent long range low, that'll help. If you have like a multi-hitting something or other, that'll help. You can jump back maybe, depending on the situation. But yeah, if you're close enough and he does the uncharged version, -6, just practice punishing it. And if you're not in a range where you can punish it, just take your turn like you normally would. You'll have it. It should be pretty easy. So take your turn with something that will reach him, even if it's a slower option, or condition him to sit still and then move forward for like some pressure. Yep. With Gil, other than just his moves that you should practice punishing, like his lariats and stuff, he has a lot of his ice ball in neutral. Though it seems like we can't react to it and jump over it, he'll be able to anti-air in time, so it's not an option. Now, depending on your spacing, and this is irrelevant for when he does like normals and cancels into the ice ball, you can hit him with certain attacks that will go through it or go underneath it. A lot of low attacks will deal with it. Now, any slow-moving projectile that you have to deal with, and this counts for like Birdie's can, V-Skill 1 or anything like that, it's better to block it sooner rather than later. I mean, you can mix it up by, like, if you move backwards. Okay, so let's, like, create this scenario, right? So, if you're having to deal with a slow-moving projectile and the opponent's, like, moving in on you, right? They're either going to just continue to approach you on the ground and, like, probably go for a throw or something. Go for a jump in, like that. Wait for you to jump over it and then anti-air. Or if you have some other projectile invincible move, like maybe if you have a slide or something that goes underneath projectiles, they'll wait for that. It can get more complicated depending on character-specific anti-projectile tools. But generally speaking, they're going to just approach you. They're going to continue zoning and hang back entirely. Or they're going to approach you but then try to bait you into jumping over it or anything like that. So any of those instances where, let's say, he's trying to bait you into, well, any situation where the ice ball's about to hit you, you have the options to neutral jump it. Now, if he keeps approaching you, if he continues to walk forwards, he might be able to anti-air you if he's close enough. Or if you back off, you might reset the spacing, and then if he hesitates or does not continue to move forwards at the same pace as his fireball, because, like, look, for him to move forwards, his walk speed is not as fast as the fireball, right? So the fireball's getting about... they're pretty similar, honestly, but if I neutral jump here, he might be able to anti-air with me with like a stand heavy kick or a stand medium kick or something. But, yeah, and other characters, like Guile's light sonic boom travels faster than his forward walk speed, and Birdie's can travels faster than his forward. So, in these situations, you know, you can continue to back off, and for them to be able to anti-air your neutral jump over it, they would need to, like, a lot of the times dash forwards or commit to doing some consistent forward movement, right? So, anytime you're in these situations, you can either threaten neutral jump over it, or back off in order to reset the spacing and then neutral jump over it, or forward jump over it. If they're moving too far forwards, like if they dash at you, that's a prime opportunity to jump over it and get a cross-up angle, or just jump over them entirely. Or at any point, you can just walk forward and block it, because the sooner you block it, the better. Like, if I'm here, if I block it here, he's plus 16, but he's not, like, super plus. So the sooner I block it, the less he has time to take advantage of it. And that will be consistent throughout all of it. So anytime you're threatening to move backwards or do something else, and you just walk forwards and block it, you'll take away the advantage that he has from the plus frames and such. So those are generally all of your options that, like, all characters have against this kind of stuff. But for Gil specifically, his a lot of Gil's gimmicky stuff will do oh, come on. We'll do, like, you know, ice ball cancels in the corner, and those can be beaten. If you react to them, you can do that. Now, Gil can parry anti-air. So maybe you might want to empty jump. But, so yeah, you can do that. A lot of the times, Most characters have some button that they can react with that will like trade or go through the fireball in some way. Like stand medium kick. So this seems to be consistently hitting him out of that. Honda's gonna have a lot of abusable gimmicks, so let's no, that's not the one I wanted. Alrighty, so he has lots of like hand situations or anything like this. Generally speaking, it's safer to just kind of respect a lot of his hands. Like he'll do light hands into like medium hands a lot of the time. Like if I try to like challenge or something, I do a delayed button or anything, it's a space trap that gets created. Like so. But a lot of these space trap situations you can beat out with backwards movement. And just be very careful when you try whiff punishing it. You have to figure out which button, because you don't want to press something that goes into the active frames and will get hit by the hands. If you back off, see like that. See when I get the timing down right. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty safe to tape. You should just be more confident. You know, like the main threat you have to deal with is walk up and dash up command throw or anything a lot of the time. So, you know, the chip damage kind of sucks, but you can't avoid getting, like, huge chip damage in Honda. Like, all of his headbutts deal huge chip damage, his hands deal huge chip damage. He's just like, that's just gonna happen, so. But yes, if you need to, you can V-reversal the hands. Just use your best judgment. Don't be too afraid of the situation, and, you know, any situation you see yourself in, if you're trapped in the corner or something against this kind of crap. Figure out what frame situations you can do, and he usually will always have an option that will beat out something that you do too hastily. Like if you press a button in this situation, expecting it, well, he could just do another light hands there, or he could do like a walk back, like stand jab buffered into medium headbutt or something. The heavier the hands that he does, the more negative he's going to be, so you can take more advantage of that if he's doing like the medium hands afterwards. Just don't be too hasty, you know, wait, look for your opportunity like you would any time when you're being pressured in the corner. Beyond that, he has his this, which can go either side, like. Now, depending on your character, you might have decent options against this. Yeah. Alright, so in V-Trigger 1, I can beat that with the invincibility of EX Scissor Kick. Any character should be able to V-Reversal this. Now, some characters have special V-Reversal tech, where they can do a slight... There we go. So you can actually get a punish on this, especially if they go for the backwards side. So Honda's generally plus after this if he lands on the same side. You generally just have to respect it a lot of the time. And this will usually have a gap that you can V-shift and go for the break. You won't be able to get much punishes unless he goes for the backside. Here, let me demonstrate that. So that's him going for the cross-up. His regular sumo splashes can be pretty annoying to deal with in neutral, but you'll just have to figure them out. You'll just have to figure out which of your anti-air options are more consistent at dealing with it. If you have some sort of parry option, that's going to be very helpful. To not have to deal with the wonk hurtbox interactions and get trades like that. It's very difficult to air-to-air these without long-reaching air-to-air buttons, because it's very active in the air. The sumo splashes, and depending on if you identify the spacing, see, part of the problem is that it's difficult to space them out because it puts you in proximity block. See, I'm holding straight back, but I'm not allowed to walk backwards, so I'm not allowed to make it whiff. So sometimes with certain characters, maybe you have a long-ranged attack that's good enough that if you V-shift it pretty early, you can still whiff punish it with something. Bison can probably do it with light or EX scissors. Let's try it with EX. Yep. So that works pretty consistently. But if you are already outspacing it, and you'd have to do this preemptively due to the proximity block that it puts you in with your dashes or anything like that, you can whiff punish it with a nice long-range tool. Now, if you see that it's going to whiff, you want to practice your timing, and if you're very, elusive with your movements, your dash movement specifically, you can bait out these kinds of situations. Punish him before he does his little step back that he does. And that would be the main tool. But beyond that, you can just block it and then take your turn a lot of the time. That's kind of what you have to do against Honda a lot of the time. I mean, you have to... So, for his headbutts, his light headbutt is like safe on block most of the time if he spaces it out, you know. It's like -4. You can beat his headbutts in the same way you would beat most lateral movement with like neutral jumps or a lot of time back jumps I would go for in certain situations. But yeah, if he does anything other than the light headbutt, it's going to be punishable. Now, I would play... This is part of the problem with me, because I play with the sound off, but the sound is by far and away the best way to identify which of these moves he's doing, because he will play a different sound clip for light, medium, and heavy headbutts, and that will help you very easily determine the frame data on it on block. So this is medium, -7. Do our 7-frame punish. Further back. Still in range, 7-frame punish. Because of that, it's very important to consistently punish everything that he does if he's not doing the light headbutt on block. The heavy one, we want to have optimal punishes for each one, so if he does the heavy one, we want to really negate him from doing that. So we want to have these big-ass punishes. Which is why it's very important to identify which one he does as fast as possible. So, playing with the sound on, I would recommend against Honda. But yeah, I mean, like anything else, just like with his non-EX sumo splashes, or just like with his light headbutt or anything, if you're not in range to punish it, you can react and V-shift it if you're pretty comfortable in the neutral. And there's no risk to doing so, because you can do it while holding back. So you can try to go for it. And then go for a whiff punish. But yeah, just like anything, if you end up blocking it, which you will all the time, just either take your turn with something that you know will reach, or, do some pressure. Threaten a walk-up. Now, with G, this is something I'm going to talk about a lot more in another one of these segments, but a lot of G players in low ranks will play in this style where they just, like, do this, basically. Here, let me do EX instead. So we're going to do that. We're going to do all that. I'm going to try to react to it. It's not easy. No. Damn it. Damn it. So, a lot of G players will play in this kind of way, where they just move backwards to bait you into moving forwards, and then they'll just do, like, this super punishable YOLO, like, full screen thing. This is not, like, the easiest thing to deal with. It's like, its risk-reward is bad, but if they're consistently landing it, and they also have threatening offense when they knock you down with it, it can be rough to deal with. Now, generally speaking, I would apply the same mentality. If you're playing against a player that does this a lot, I would apply the same mentality that you would against all of neutral in the first place, like how you would against Dhalsim, and play outside the range of their attack. Like, just like any other character, you look at the footsies, you're like, okay, what's the longest reaching thing they can do that I can't react to? You know? Like, if a Ken does a fireball from, like, mid-screen, you can react to that, so I don't need to be blocking there, you know? What's the longest reaching thing that I can't react to? So, play outside the range of that, and so we can freely move in the footsies here. If he does it, we'll whiff punish him. Oh, God. Pressed it too early. Oh, my hurt box is extending. So, we can play like that, and then we can, obviously he's not going to do it if he's in this range, so anytime that we're playing in this space, he has no reason to go for it, so long as we're consistently punishing for doing him. So then we can play like this, and we can, get in, and, so we're playing outside of his longest reaching range, and then sometimes we move forwards. Now, if we move forwards, we can just block and wait for him to either move back out of our range, again, or we can avoid it by, we don't want to walk backwards because it's a low hit, so the safest option to move backwards while avoiding a random slide or random low is to just tap up back to get out of our range, and then we can go back to playing in this range. And then at any point in time, since he's not going to be doing it while it's obviously going to whiff, at any point in time we can threaten a rapid forward movement. And that's if we don't have some other beneficial tool to make use of from further away. But yeah, I mean, if I would not, like, try to inch my way forwards against a player that does this and, like, just try to block. I mean, the risk-reward is generally in your favor because he's doing something that's punishable and all that sort of stuff. So long as your offense that you get off of the punish is, like, good and the damage you get off of your punish is decent or whatever, it's fine to play in this way, but I would not try to play against an opponent's guessing game. We'll talk about that later when we get into reads and decisions, but I don't really want to, like, play against the opponent's, like, weird-ass YOLO zoning. So I'd rather, like, condition them to not do it, throw in some neutral jumps every now and then to stop them from doing it. Now, part of the problem with neutral jumping against G is that a lot of low rank Gs will also do the next gimmick that we have to talk about, which is his wheel kicks. So the main thing, and he can space it light, medium, and heavy for his wheel kicks. The important thing is that they're all -5. So if you're close enough to punish it, you can punish it, and you want to learn the ranges where you can punish it and such with your longest 5-frame attack. This beats all jumping. Don't, like, be very jumpy in the neutral. Yeah, this will completely clear the airspace. So that's not how you're going to deal with this. You can either be close enough, inch your way close enough so that you're in range to punish it, or be further back, because it doesn't take a lot, and it doesn't put you in proximity block. This is one of the other good things. It doesn't really put you in proximity block very early, but still, if you want to make it whiff, you should probably be more backdashy than walkbacky, but that depends on your character's walkback speed. But yeah, not too difficult to make it whiff, and it whiffs for a long time, and you can very clearly see it coming, so if it's going to whiff, a lot of time to react to it if you just practice seeing it, whiff punishing it, and the like. So anywhere that you're playing against the G player, you can play within the space that's, like, difficult for he'll threaten a whiff, or we can just, so this range he'll whiff, we can walk back and make it whiff, or this range we can walk forward and make it punishable. So there's actually a very, very small window where it's actually safe for him to do if we take advantage of that space. So those are the methods that we would use to stop the G players from doing that. Just be more elusive with our movement. We beat it with movement. Sakura players, main gimmick a lot of them go for. Doing unsafe stuff, light or heavy Tatsu or anything like that into a... Oh, EXDP, oh, whatever. Now, Sakura's EXDP is one of the best in the game. It has, like, good damage, crazy corner carry. And if it even remotely taps you, in the neutral or anything. Like, she can do it from here, and it'll still fully combo. So, very valuable. It's actually very rewarding for her to do EXTP if it actually hits. So, it can be rough to deal with. But just like any character that can put themselves -2 in front of your face, and you can't backdash it because it moves so far forwards as well, and all that kind of stuff. So we just do the same stuff we would do if we're trying to bait out the opponent on their wake-up. We do a delay tech, or a delay button, most of the time. We can V-shift, and that will escape if they mash a button, or mash like a throw tech or something. So that's generally a pretty safe option to go for. Most of the time, I would not spend the resources that way. Like, delay teching or delay buttoning in these situations most of the time would be correct. But it's important to recognize that even if an opponent does this most of the time, if they do this literally every time, that's, like, guaranteed. You just win after that. Now, if they do this most of the time, or they seem to be very volatile or threatening, it's important to, again, we'll cover this more when we get into risk-reward, but you don't want to constantly be letting the opponent just do this and then, like, take their turn, you know? So, even if you're going to eat a couple EXTPs, once you condition your opponent to know, like, first things first, I would do a delay tech or a delay button just to prove to your opponent that you're not going to fall for it and be, like, that easy to just, EXTP all over the place. They can't just get free offense that way. So once you put it in your opponent's head that, you know, they actually have to do some guesswork in that situation, then I would still take my turn and try to, like, throw them or do a button or anything, even if there's a threat of me getting EXTP'd, because I don't want to just give them free offense all the time. You know, I would rather risk-reward. I would rather take, because the advantage should be in the situation, the advantage should be with me. I'm the one who's plus in the situation. They put themselves in a risky spot where they have to do a big risk. Now, obviously, part of dealing with gimmicks like this is having good punishes on their EXTPs, so you really want to make it hurt for them when they do this to discourage them from doing it. But yeah, that's mainly how we would deal with that. Now, Ed's Psycho Knuckle, you know, just as a tool in neutral, it's you know, it's legitimate. I mean, just treat it like any other tool. I wouldn't consider it a gimmick, but, you know, a lot of Eds will do this. Well, they'll do a -2 into the Psycho Knuckle, and this will be on their wake up as well. So I would do that. So my inputs there were light punch, I did immediately, and then crouching medium punch. Now the timing I did it is such that it would do that. Light punch, medium punch. Light punch, medium punch. So I would do a block string. And I do it at that consistent timing where I'm not hitting the medium punch too early or anything. My light punch whiffs, and because it whiffs, it doesn't take as long. There's not the hit stop or the block stop rather that occurs when your move makes contact. So then there's a bigger gap between my light punch and my medium punch. Therefore, I'm able to block, and my medium punch doesn't come out because I'm in block stun by then. Just like that. So I can take my turn and still be safe from his EX mash out, and then punish. So that is a very consistent thing you can constantly do to Ed in this situation to force him to not do that EX. And he's not going to be able to throw or do anything else because you are taking your turn in the -2 on his -2. So he just has to hold that so long as that's the tool that you do. Now, if you expect him to start, like, respecting you and then you go for, like, a throw or something, then he can start doing, you know, if you do anything other than this, he can threaten with the EX mash out. But if you consistently do this, he just has to respect it completely. With Juri, again, I would consider her fireball to be very similar to Chun-Li's. The main difference, I think, and this is going to be more character specific, but the main difference between Chun-Li's light fireball and Juri's fireball, Juri's is substantially better, because it's more plus. She has more it's not more plus. It has less block stun, but like say you're in a situation where you're still in range for Juri's like medium kick or heavy kick. You know, like we were talking about how Chun-Li, there's a space that we can be at advantage where we're outside the range of her heavy punch, but we're still inside the range where she can't get a dash up with her plus frames. So that's like a gray zone where it's not good for Chun-Li. Juri does not have a gray zone. So long as like you blocked her fireball anywhere further from point blank, she will be plus. So if you're still in range for her buttons, she might still be plus enough that she could also forward dash and still be plus. So, but the main difference is that her fireball will disappear a little bit faster. I mean, that's one thing I forgot to mention. Chun-Li's fireballs will other than her EX, her fireballs will dissipate over time, so you can just back off, and they're not like infinite. They won't push you to the corner. But yeah, Juri's fireball, she can throw the fireball, dash up, and then if you neutral jump it, she can still DP anti-air you. So she recovers super fast from her fireball. So I would use similar mentalities, but just you have to respect it more. You have to back off more. You have to, yeah, it's harder to deal with. But again, character-specific options. You can hit over the fireball since it's like a fireball that crawls low along the ground. You have a lot of moves, some characters more than others, that will hit over top of it and hit Juri through the fireball. So you'll just have to lab that out with whatever character you have. Alright, character gimmicks like this with command dashes. We'll do like something like that. Tons of Ibuki players will do this when they're comboing. You just have to practice reacting to it. Sometimes they'll do it in neutral, sometimes they'll do it as a cancel from a button. Just practice reacting to it. Just get your instincts to it. Ibuki's is one of the easiest ones to see. But another thing to keep in mind is that players with command dashes, especially Ibuki, whose command dash can cross up, will go for this even if they're already hitting you. So don't be complacent when they're like, you know, you're like getting combo. Don't just wait for the knockdown. They might cancel and try to do a reset with the cross up, which you can interrupt as well. Beyond that, a lot of Ibuki players will love to abuse this cancel into this overhead that she can combo off of. If you see it, it's only a cancel from standing a medium punch. So if you see it, react to it, and just hit a button to interrupt it. If you get the timing right, you can interrupt it on the ground. It's your choice, really. It's hard to time that to make it hit on the ground, but. Now, Laura and Ken are also characters that have command dashes, but theirs are substantially harder to react to consistently, so you're not going to stuff, just like you're not going to stuff every dash, you're not going to stop every Ken run cancel or Laura command dash cancel or anything, but just be aware of them. They are in a counter hit state when they do it, unlike Ibuki, who's, you know, just a normal hit state. Just, yeah, recognize the patterns, and just other than that, be calm on your defense and treat it like how you would any other dash up, where you rotate your defensive options and choose which options you want to employ. But yes, important to react to Laura's overhead in neutral as well. Any situation. And important to get consistent punishes on it, so. When you're trying to react to block overheads, you want to be very, very deliberate with your thumb movement. Because if you just slightly adjust your thumb, it might still consider you to be crouching. You want to go to like full, like almost up back on your D-pad. Or just so it's sure to register. I had that issue when I had like casts on my thumb or anything, and it was harder to get precise thumb movements. Where I would try or intentionally block something overhead, but my thumb didn't move quite drastically enough on the controller. So yeah, that's something that you can react to. Again, you're not going to block every single one, but make it more of a risk for the lower player than it should be for you, and be ready and practice it off of like various cancels and situations like that, so that your brain is prepared, your eyes are prepared to look for it off of her normals that she can cancel off of. Beyond that, she also has where she has several buttons that she can do, or she might just do in general, where she's doing like cancels into her light fireball. Now this is again going to be character specific, but generally most characters in the cast have a way to deal with this. Now this fireball from Laura puts you in like insane proximity block. You're holding back and you cannot walk back. So you want to be very deliberate with your emotions. You can jump back. Laura technically has ways to punish this a lot of the time. If you do like see the fireball late and then jump back, she can chase you down with like an EX bolt charge. Low rank Laura players are not going to be doing that, but yeah. Be prepared to input a backdash. You can V-shift if you get the timing right, and then you can just use it to get escape, and if you see the Laura players committing to something, you can go forward with the break or any other option that you want to do. But mainly, the thing that most characters can do is they can see the fireball and then do something to trade with it. One of their normals or something will be able to beat it if you see the situation unfolding. Alright, for Zangief, and I didn't talk about this with Honda, but Honda's V-Trigger 2 has a similar property where you're going to want to be prepared for his, like, running bear grab cancels. Now, when Zangief does light kick, a lot of the times he might be looking to cancel it into this running bear grab, because the benefit of light kick is that when he cancels something from it, he stays a bit closer. You know, if he does it from like a crouch medium punch or something, he's going to be much further away. So it's going to be much easier to react to. Now, you should practice reacting to this just so that you won't be caught off guard completely. You know, just train your eyes to do it. Then you don't have to think about it during a real match, but you'll still be ready for it. But yeah, beyond that, one of the main gimmicks that Zangief players will go for is they'll do this. So this, when he activates it, is -6. And anytime that he's already activated and he does a light suck to just pull you in, -6. Now, this is not true 100%. There are certain situations where it can be not -6. But generally speaking, you want to just practice the timing and then just punish this. Punish, punish, punish. It is very important to consistently get this punish, because this will be incredibly annoying if a Zangief player can go for this all the time and not get punished for it. So yeah, always be ready to react to that on activation or when he's already in V-Trigger 1, and then take your turn at the right timing. If you mistime it, you're gonna be in a bad spot. So similar situations all around. Now, depending on your character, Karen is more or less gimmicky. For example, if I'm playing Falk, I really dislike dealing with Karen's V-Trigger 1 gimmicks, because Falk does not have like the safe options that everyone else does. Like if I were to take Bison, I'm pretty sure I have very consistent tools to deal with these gimmicks. So Karen, when she does V-Trigger 1, she does her move on block, the advancing move, and she can cancel it into a bunch of stuff. She can do it into a slide, into a palm strike, into a backdash, into a shoulder, and into an overhead, into a weird like command throw, bunch of stuff. So if she does the shoulder, which she wants to do, that's plus on block, or if she does backdash, or if she does the overhead, or if she does backdash into the forward rekka again. So anyways, so if we do this, if she does this, generally speaking, most characters can take their 3 or 4 framer or whatever and just take their turn, right? You can interrupt the shoulder, They're not going to be going for the palm strike, realistically speaking. She backdashes. Generally speaking, you can be fine. If she overheads, your jab will beat it. And then if she does the backdash into the forward movement, you're going to be safe. Now, technically, Karen can beat some of these options. I think that might beat it. Yeah. So technically, Karen can beat, like, your reversal option, but if you rotate between your, like, different 4-framers and such. Let's see, let's do a 3-framer here. Oh, messed it up. Oops. Nope, still got hit. Let's try our crouch short. Okay, yeah. So, if we rotate between our options or anything, we have moves that won't get hit by the backdash medium punch. But anyways, I mean, if we just stay blocking, we won't get hit by the medium punch. And if she whiffs the medium punch, she just goes back to neutral anyway. So, she has some tools, but it's, like, pretty good for us all around. Generally speaking, we can deal with that. And most of the time, when she does the backdash, she's not going to be committing to doing... A lot of the time, she'll want to do, like, that, because she'll want to come back in for offense, and that's very common for Karen players to do. But, so with Falk, you don't have good options for this, because all of your lights, all of your 4-frame attacks... no, that's not the right one. All of your 4-frame attacks don't hit the overhead. They would all... I'm going to do crouch short. So like that. So I would get punished by the overhead with Falk for every single 4-framer that I do. They all hit down there, which means they all don't interrupt the overhead, which is a big problem because Karen can combo off this overhead. So this is like an institution where this is gimmicky, but most of the time you can just take your turn with like a stand or a crouch jab or something. Some characters are more screwed than others. Falk would have to do stand light kick, but stand light kick actually loses to this. It would get whiff punished just like that. So, kind of sucks for that character. Some characters, better options than others. Generally speaking, after you block the thing, you can also, if you don't strictly want to do this, you can try reacting to the overhead. You can try backdashing. If you backdash, you'll get hit out of the air by the shoulder, the plus on block shoulder, and the overhead. But you'll generally be safe to everything else. With Nash, it's mainly just like the main gimmick that a Nash player would probably go for is like the moonsaults. You know, you got to be just like you want to be prepared for practicing and beating anti-airs or command dashes. You know, like cancels into a dash. You want to be prepared for cancels into moonsaults and just full screen moonsaults. You want to just practice that, practice beating the moonsaults in training mode, and train your eyes so that they do your anti-air move or whatever you want to do to beat his moonsaults, especially like from full screen, so that he doesn't get more offense than he deserves. Now, Ken is the crown prince of bullshit gimmicks. Let's see. Let's count off his gimmicky stuff. He has this, which like is a gimmick in that it like clears all of neutral, goes over fireballs, has a big ass hitbox that will like beat normals in this space. He can combo off of it. Yeah, it has a gigantic hitbox. It can be kind of awkward to punish because if you're crouching, only one hit will connect and makes it hard to time sometimes. So you want to practice both standing, where you can see all the hits, and practice punishing this crouching where only one hit connects. And so on. But yeah, punishing that consistently is very important. When he's in V-trigger, it is no longer punishable, so it once again becomes like a -2 guess. Also, when he's in V-trigger, its hitbox is like insane. It is legitimately like full screen coverage beats everything. No, I'm trying to get hit by the first hit of it. Yeah, that hit. The first hit is like crazy range. It will clip all sorts of stuff. And yeah, it's difficult to beat this with movement because it covers so much space. You can try to jump back if you're like in this space. That would probably be the most consistent way to beat it. But again, its hitbox is so far, so fast, you might just get caught before you get off the ground. It's so many active frames. V-shifting won't even allow you to get a good punish on it. You'll just go for the break most of the time, or go for like a super. I messed it up. Like that, something invincible. But yeah, generally speaking, this is a hard move to beat out. And it's, like, it is kind of risky because he puts himself at -2. And it's like, you know, it feels very gimmicky. But it's honestly not that bad of a move, you know? Like, it's safe on block. It destroys all sorts of stuff in neutral. It's honestly a pretty legit tool for him if he feels like using it. You won't beat it on startup with anything. You're not going to fucking interrupt it. You're not going to do anything, so... So yeah, he has that, and in general, treat it like I talked about the Sakura -2 situation, EXDP, threat, anything like that. He has V-skill run. This is another big gimmicky thing of Ken, is Ken does not have the best fireball, but he has the best dash-up throw for incorporating into his fireball game plan. Now, we'll talk about this when we talk about fireballs and reads and such like that more so, but like one of the main things is that Ken's dash with his V-skill run goes further. Like most characters when they forward dash, their forward dash goes about the same range as like a forward jump, you know? So it's like I can dash up to here and it's about the same range as jump to here, and it's like very similar spacing. The forward jump goes a bit further. With Ken, it's the opposite. He can be throwing fireballs outside the range that we can jump in and punish him. So he can be throwing fireballs outside this range, basically. But he can still be in range to do a dash up and still be like close enough to throw, or a lot of other stuff that he can do. So he can be walking back and throwing fireballs or V-skill dashing all across the screen. And it is, don't get it twisted, it is hard to react to, especially online. So you'll definitely want to practice that a lot, a fucking lot, to train your eyes to look for it. And off of cancel situations and stuff. But in general, again, same mentality. Just don't panic on your defense. Even if you're not reacting to it, it's fine. Just, like, be patient and take less risky actions on your defense. Don't let him, like just slaughter you really quickly. And just die more slowly, and then you can look for reads instead of trying to react to everything. But, yeah, so that's another gimmick that you can practice and improve your ability to deal with it legitimately, but it's still rough, especially when he has so many other gimmicks to go for as well. In general, a lot of kids, like in the flowchart kind of playstyle, if you neutral jump over their fireball, a lot of them might do that at like this particular spacing. So if you're like hanging around this spacing, you neutral jump, no, this spacing, you neutral jump, and then they'll do this. So again, this step kick is punishable if you're close enough to do so. So be consistent, and if you're not, again, same mentality as the headbutt. Just take your turn with something, condition him, and then walk forwards and throw. You know, you don't want to be... If an opponent does like the same thing over and over that puts themselves close to you, you want to be taking advantage of that. You want to be going up and throwing them when they give you a free turn. So you don't just want to like do a block string that they're just going to block and or DP on you. Other gimmicks that he can go for, a lot of Ken players will do like this target combo. Now, some Kens will do like medium kick into EXDP because it's -2, so he can EXDP afterwards. But in general, you don't want to take your turn with a standing button after medium kick because you'll get hit by the target combo frame trap. Take your turn with a crouching button if you can. But yeah, you can just back off or just stay crouching, and if you see the whiff, It's easy enough to react to and punish if you just stay patient. Beyond that, you have light Tatsu. You want to be very consistent at recognizing his surprise Tatsus and getting the timing for the punish correctly. You know, you don't want to leaving these damage on the table or anything. So you'll definitely want to train your reactions so that you see the quick hit of the Tatsu and then you punish it. Get your timing for the medium Tatsu, heavy Tatsu, all the Tatsus, so that you're punishing this garbage. Now, a crown jewel of several characters, but mainly Ken, is whiffing shit into mashing DP. Ken's light DP is kind of insane. Here, let me demonstrate what happens if you react to something, but then don't, like, whiff punish it in time. It is 3-frame startup, it is super active, and it recovers actually pretty fast. And if you swing too early to get the whiff punish on, like, or take your turn on the thing you were going to do, yeah, it's super active. It can be rough to deal with. So, just, if an opponent does this, either just be more confident about your timings, you know, just be more decisive and look for very specific things and only go for the whiff punishes when you're confident you're going to get them. Take delayed actions, like, if you see a whiff, do like a delayed, like, oh, walk back, like light punch or something, or something that's not going to have a hurt box that's going to extend. So if you do low attacks, nah, Ken's still hits really low to the ground. And you want to be very consistent at knowing which option you have to most effectively punish a whiff DP that you see in neutral. And be prepared for that in those situations. Let's see, Cammy has her V skill 1. Just treat it like the command dash. I mean, it's a strike, but you can react to it, counter hit, punish it, anything like that. Just train your eyes to look for it, and you should be able to deal with it, especially if you get if your opponent's doing it consistently. It's not that threatening, because it's just like plus on block, it's like whatever. So you can block a couple, and then when you get the idea that your opponent does it a lot, you can just keep it in your peripheral, and then punish it on reaction. Just commit to it. It has a bad hurt box, it's counter hit, punishable. Go for it. Now, Vega has some gimmicks that are kind of difficult to deal with. So Vega has his wall dives, which he can be on either side of. He can hit the button earlier or later. So you're not going to consistently beat Vega or anything like that, but I will just explain to you the anatomy of the move. So if he does the wall dive, he has a throw, you know, so if you see where he's coming from, yeah. If you try to air him or something, once you see that he's actually approaching you in the airspace, you can go for an air-to-air, perhaps. You can try to anti-air, perhaps. That'll beat him some of the time. Depends on your anti-air option. That does not seem to work very well. Let's see. So, yeah. But he can do so there's no consistent way to beat it, but I definitely want to stop him from side switching if that's what he's doing it for. If he's trying to just fucking you know, play back off to the corner, use his space zone over and over, and then just wall dive out of the corner a lot of times. So I would like to stop that from happening if possible. But any time where he does it and it whiffs like that, so I can backdash. If I see that he's really coming after me, I can jump back jab. And any time that he is clearly going to whiff or anything like that, or you have a read or you're confident that he's going to whiff or something, he recovers for a long-ass time, man, on the ground. So you can get a full jumping combo on him. If you see that that's where he's going to go, you can really make it hurt for him. So that is generally the anatomy of how I would do it. You can beat it with movement, you can beat it with anti-airs, jump back jabs, or like specific reads. So dashing around, those are like the main tools that are used to make it like worse for him as a guessing game than it is for you. But it's not consistently beatable. Now he has his V skill 2, which he might abuse a lot of the time. Now this is, if you're close enough, this is -6, so it is punishable on block. But so when you see the jump back, if you practice and get the right timing, you can stick out a button with a lot of active frames. Oh, not the right timing. There we go. Stick out a button with a lot of active frames at about the right timing, and if he commits to the follow-up, it should punish him. Now, his follow-up will not have any invincibility. So if he, like, say, if he's doing it in response to, like, your jump-in, you can just option select it and then just attack him anyways. Like so. So yeah, either be in range, beat his thing, or let him back off. So on and so forth, get the timing. You might V-shift punish if you're hard calling it out. You can't really react to it, but you can the follow-up hit, I mean, but or you can just block it and take your turn. Now, Necalli's V skill 2 can be kind of rough to deal with. Once again, it's a very character-specific thing because the best ways to beat it are with hitbox-hurtbox interactions. Like if I'm playing Falk, he does his V skill 2 that crawls along the ground. I do a forward heavy punch, it just goes straight over his projectile and hits him. So, easy enough to deal with. But other characters, they don't have such an easy time. So you'll really have to take your character, lab what they can do or can't do. You can't jump in it on a reaction. He has invincible anti-airs. He'll be able to recover in time and anti-air. You can try to back off until it dissipates. You can treat it like any slow-moving projectile like we've already talked about. But it's not the absolute easiest thing to deal with for some characters. I won't be able to give you consistent advice to beat it. For Guile, a lot of his tools are generally pretty legitimate. Here, let me demonstrate the importance of like minor spacing differences in the corner. A gimmick that like Guile players will constantly do, and this is more so like I already mentioned, the Chun-Li is he's very plus after his fireballs that like you block on his in his block string. So if he goes for, let's go for left corner. So he does a block string. If you take your turn after the fireball, you're stupid, and you're gonna get punched in the face. That's like +7. And when you block his fireballs in his block strings, he's insanely plus. Now, this locks you down pretty consistently. So I'm not getting off the ground. I'm trying to jump out of it. It's not gonna happen. Let me see if I can V-scale through it. Nope, I can't V-scale the boom. I can use an anti-projectile tool here. If I want to, but in general, this will lock you down, and you generally have to respect the follow-up hit as well. Now, he did the follow-up hit. Now, I'm crouch blocking, so he did this exact string, and I'm crouch blocking, and he did that immediately. Let's see, I'm going to try doing light kick my 3-framer. Okay, that traded with him there. I did my 4-framer, it traded with him there, but he's still very plus in that situation. He's much more plus. He could honestly get a trade combo there. That knocked me out of that move. See, here's the situation. I block this, it's 0 on block. Now, he does not have a 3-framer. So I can take my turn with my 3-framer, if I have one. Or I can accept a trade. But in generally speaking, we have to accept the trade on the knee bazooka. Now, this is what I wanted to mainly demonstrate here with this, is that this will be a slightly different spacing. So if I crouch block this, okay, that's 0 again. If I stand, +1 for Guile, because I'm slightly thinner, so it takes slightly more travel time for him to get to me. Let's do another one. There we go. Okay, that's the one I wanted. Yeah, stand, jab into it. That's the proper block string. So this will be slightly further away. So let's see if I can escape the fireball in this situation. I got airborne, but it wasn't enough. So if I crouch block this, so if he does this block string and I'm crouch blocking the whole way through, he does knee bazooka, he's plus there. He's actually plus on this spacing. If I attack, I'm still trading, and it's a bad trade for me. If I do something slower, I'm just going to get beat out. But if he's plus on a crouch block, that means that he's going to whiff on a stand. So if I stand up, if I just walk backwards, he's going to whiff. So if he does any string that's actually plus when you're crouch blocking, it's going to whiff if you're stand blocking. If he's plus if you're stand blocking, you can crouch block and it'll at least be 0. So that's mainly how you would go about taking advantage of these situations. Let's see, Colleen has her has her overhead, which you can react to, same as the other overheads, react to it and punish it. She has her V-skill 1, similar situation, just be aware of what's punishable and at what ranges. Then she has her EX hail, which I've made multiple videos on in the past of specific, character-specific punishes to that. Zeku, it's a lot of more of the same, you know, it's like, demon flip gimmicks, you know, in the same sense as Vega's wall dive. You want to have some assortment of options to deal with his demon flips in old form, you know, deal with his run cancels in young form by reacting to them and taking your turn, or jabbing the overhead or stuff, or blocking the overhead if you're committing to that, or blocking the full screen slides. So just train your eyes to react to those things, same as all the other stuff. Let's see, Cody, I mean, a lot of the other characters. Poison has like some shenanigans with her dash cancel with her B skill 2. But you can generally think of it as very similar. I wrote this script before Akira was in here, so let me think if there's any strict gimmicks other than just more punishable stuff. I think everything that I've talked about before generally applies to most of these characters. Yeah. Lucia has pretty unique gimmicks, so I guess we'll talk about her. Her flipper shot is a very unique fireball. Alrighty, so we have some assortment of options here. So generally speaking, they'll be doing like the medium or the heavy versions of the fireball when it comes out now. Now, if we react to it and then jump over it, we can, if we see the fireball, we can generally, unlike Ed, like Ed can pull up his Psycho Spark and then throw it and still anti-air you. Whereas Lucia, if we do this and then jump in on her, we can punish it. But if she does the light version, we'll just jump straight into it. A lot of the time. Now, we can thread the needle like that, but if we're like further out like this, that's going to happen. But yeah, so if we're in this range, we can definitely still threaten the jump in over any of her cancels that she can do. But mainly the way we're going to beat it on a lot of this like further spacing here that she's going to be throwing these fireballs is with hitbox, hurtbox interactions and trades like that. So her light one that she pops up like this, you can treat it like a lot of trade situations with other characters. Colleen's hail has very similar properties that you can do a lot of the time. See, that was pretty good for Bison in that situation. Now, a lot of times she's going to slide after she does this. This is an extremely common like gimmick that So that will be like plus for her. So she's like... So if I dash at her, I'll still get hit. So she covers that space. Now, we can beat this with some buttons, depending on if we have buttons that have good hitbox-hurtbox interactions. We can go over it if we expect the slide. If we're that close enough already, we might just like want to go for a punish like this if we have options, but we'll have to figure out which options our characters have that move us forwards in these situations. You get weird trade combos like that. But yeah, if we're playing in this, we can just outspace it, and if she does like the slide or anything like that, maybe we have some sort of tool that can punish it. Now, this is an interesting scenario because this is normally punishable on block. This is Bison specific, obviously, but this move is normally punishable on block. It's minus 12. However, if one of its hits clashes with a fireball, its frame data changes slightly because the clash takes longer than a normal hit, but it still has to run through all the other hits of it. So if we back off like this and do this, even if she blocks this move, it's minus 3 instead. That one's plus 8. So yeah, I mean, very almost counter gimmicky, of course, but like generally speaking, that's how you would like look for your character's options and how they can deal with this situation. There we go. That seems to thread the needle just fine. Easy enough, so we can discourage her from doing that by doing that, and we're not taking that much of a risk by backdashing this anyways. If we're close enough, maybe we just have something that can go for a punish, so we'll have to figure out what we can do to beat the light one specifically, and beyond that we just have to worry about the medium and heavy zoning. So mainly you just want to time your attack with the button that she does, and she has a very extended hurt box, like so. So when she pops it up, we swing, and if she does an attack, we can clip her hurt box with all sorts of attacks. It's almost always... Now, you can do this against other Fireball characters, too, but it's much easier to do it against Lucia and Ed as well. Ed has a really bad hurt box on his Fireball that you can time your attacks to when he throws his Fireballs and really abuse his bad hurt box in these situations. Like so, and then you can make it really bad for her to continue throwing these Fireballs all the time. And again, as we keep going, Sagat uses charged unblockables. We use the same mentality that we use for the other ones I already talked about, like Alex's charged unblockable. Blanca has like lots of, you know, feeling like gimmicky stuff. I mean, you should definitely study the frame data of his V-Trigger 2 routes. Sometimes he's plus, sometimes he's not. So sometimes you can go for cross-up, sometimes you can't. But mainly, yeah, figure out which of his Blanca balls are punishable, identify them, and practice the punishes them. And some of your punishes might have to be more unique than others. Abigail, he has his run, which can be very annoying to do with. Let's talk about that. His run has a lot of weird options to it, so he has like Abigail flips, so he can cancel or do a lot of flips in neutral. You just want to practice reacting to those and punishing them effectively. I believe you can neutral jump on a lot of his Abby flips as well. Yeah, so you can react to them and then neutral jump them for super optimal punishes. But beyond that, you have his run option. So his run, he gets new armor if he goes for the overhead, which is why it's risky to do like a lot of like cancels, and his overhead will generally catch you for a lot of movement. Like if you jump backwards, it's going to catch you. Jumping forwards is almost always the safest option against Abigail's run. Because his flip thing won't catch you as easily. You can neutral jump as well if you want to stay a bit closer, if you're in like a decent range for it. You just generally want to like move backwards and then, you know, obviously punish this if you block it, the overhead. And you want to have good punishes to it. Like this is -12, you know, don't just do like a medium punch. You can get heavy punch for this. But yeah, it'll go over your throws if you try walking up and throwing him. So generally, safest option, jump over him. If you see that he's about to, like, if he's approaching you like this and clearly, like, maybe gonna go for the throw or something, just jump over him or neutral jump. Don't jump backwards. Never jump backwards against this. That will fuck you up super hard. So that's generally the consistent option. And then sometimes I would, like, maybe throw. Now, he's actually further away from you than you think, you know, so maybe you might try to V-shift, but I don't know. A lot of his things that you do can be blown up by his overhead unless you forward jump out of it. And perhaps you have some decent multi-hitting option that will beat a lot of his stuff. So that will beat his overhead as well. So some characters have better neutral tools against it than others. But yeah, and it is always a guess. But in general, the guess should be in your advantage so long as you're not jumping backwards or letting him throw you over and over. Let me think. For, and yeah, of course, Abigail also has charge unblockables. You do in similar ways. His standing heavy punch in V-Trigger 1, you can low profile. He has like other specific tools you can do. Urian, a lot of them will do like whiff, like throw out heavy headbutts in neutral, so you can, they're safe on block. Sometimes they're plus on block if you stand up into them. They can be annoying to deal with, but just full crouch, let them whiff, and then react to like punishing them on whiff if they happen a lot. His knee drops, treat them the same way as like Alex's stomps or Nash's moonsaults. Figure out identify when they can happen, what he can cancel off of, and then how to anti-air or how to block them in such a way that you can take your turn or punish them. A lot of the times he's not going to be plus off of them. And figure out which button you can use to take your turn. And, yeah. For his Urian setups, I would just really, really hone down on practicing reacting to some of his things, like reacting to his overhead. Option selecting, like fuzzy blocking his forward medium punch into his overhead target combo so you don't get hit by that a bunch. And just putting those into your arsenal. Balrog I've talked about before in another video where I talked about how to defend against his V-Skill 1 stuff, especially in V-Trigger 1. But yeah, he has his overhead cancels that he'll go for. Again, you just want to be prepared to block and punish the overhead and have, you know, a rotation of options that will deal with his options there. Fong, I recently made a video on his gimmicks and stuff, so yeah, he has a lot of character-specific gimmicks, like his up balls, his poison clouds and stuff that each character's going to have different tools against. It's also you want to be able to jab out or anti-air, do something to his instant air teleports. Anytime he teleports around you, you want to be able to beat it to stop him from doing that. And yeah, beyond that, it's just like his legitimate zoning, so it can be difficult to deal with. But you want to be prepared for a lot of his slides and be very familiar with when his slides are plus or minus on block, as well as his drills. His drills in the air, you want to be good at blocking them, and if you see that if you blocked it or got hit by it too high up, that you punish his drills, miss-space drills in the air. Birdie, he has like his cans and his banana and such. Generally, for a lot of these like command grab characters, like Birdie has like lots of gimmicks that he'll go for. He'll go for cancels into His dolphin dive, he'll go for fake, like, Oki setups, so he'll, like, dolphin dive EX, and then he'll, like, dash up command grab or something like that. So just be very familiar with what fake Oki a lot of players like to go for and figure out what your safest options against it is. For his can, I already talked about, deal with it in the same way you would deal with a slow-moving projectile or something that you have to deal with. His can will not disappear. If you see him place the can in neutral, like if you're just, nothing's happening, you're just playing footsies or whatever, and you see him do the can, you can just, it has way more recovery than a slow fireball like Chun-Li's or something. Just jump at him. You will just get a full jump and punish. Just like if you see the can or the banana come out, jump at him, punish him. That's it. Just keep it tight. Just do that. Hit him, jump at him. You have plenty of time if you see it happen. But yeah, train your eyes, be ready for cancels into, like, the jumping command grab and stuff. If you need to, jump back. Same with Blanca. Blanca also has, like, a leaping command grab move. Be prepared to, like, jump back or interrupt him or anything like that. Train your eyes to look for it and deal with it. Don't be too stubborn about it. If you need to jump back to deal with it, do so. Don't insist on interrupting it if you're playing a real match. Look for it, and if you see it's about to hit you, jump back. And then, yeah, a lot of, like, birdie players will say, like, put the banana in the corner, like, right in front of you, and then they'll, like, jump at you or dash up command grab you or something. Now, a lot of grappler players in general, if they're going for, like, a dash up command grab, and, like, that's generally clearly what they're going to go for, just react to the dash and jump. Like, in the same sense that I already talked about in a previous video, if you're playing against an opponent that's very dashy into normal throws, don't be stubborn about it. Don't be stubborn and insistent on beating their dashes or anything. Tech their throw, right? If they dash up and throw you, tech their throw a lot of the time. In the same sense, if a grappler's going to dash up and command grab you, see it and jump back. Don't try to beat it on startup to trying to, like, jab the dash up or anything if you're not going to be able to do that, or there's going to be some difficulty. Just, like, if you see the reaction, just jump back. It's going to be generally safer to do so anyway, so if a birdie dashes up at you in the corner, jump. Like that is going to be, like, one of your default options for a while until you start playing against birdies that don't just dash up command grab you. Just jump and then punish the command grab. As for when he has the banana in front of you, that's, again, character specific. You're going to have to learn exactly what tools you have with your character to deal with it. Like with Bison, if he jumps at you, I have great air-to-airs as Bison, so I'm just going to, like, jumping medium punch probably. With Falk, I'm probably going to do crouching heavy punch. No, I'm probably going to do EX Schneide, and then I will get hit by the banana, but that will actually improve my frame data, and then I'll dash at him. It's this unique situation caused by the banana. Maybe I will do, like, yeah, that's generally what I'm going to go for. And then Bison, again, be ready for his V-Skill 2 teleport. It is counter hit state. Neutral jumping occasionally. Neutral jump will beat his slides. Neutral jump should beat his scissor kicks and his V-Skill 2 teleport as well. For his EX Psycho Blast, just treat it like all the other slow-moving fireballs I already talked about. Either back up, walk forward and block it, neutral jump it, or forward jump it, or do something that your character has specifically to deal with it. And then use that rotation of options to deal with it as he tries to approach. If you're playing against Bisons that love to, like, put out the EX ball and then V-Skill, that's a free jump, right? You're just going to jump over that all the time. Like, what's he going to do to stop you? Actually do something else? Of course not. But yeah, beyond that, he has his head stomps. Lots of Bison players in low ranks will just, like, back off to full screen all the time and then just do that. Like, they'll do, like, weird full screen scissor options or just, like, full screen head stomps. And in the same sense, head stomp, it's like Vega's wall dive. There's not a consistent answer to it. But if you see the Bison player doing a head stomp, if you just commit to waiting for it, and then you see that they cancel into the Devil's Reverse. So if he turns in the air, then that is, like, your safest, most guaranteed place to anti-air. You react to that, and then you just hit your anti-air button. You should beat him clean. But other than that, it is pretty much a guess. But you can make it a guess that's pretty decently in your favor a lot of the time. Like, say, Zangief has very specific counter tools to Bison's head stomp. Like, he can flex on the head stomp and then do an instant jump EX Air SPD to punish him. That's something that Zangief has to deal with that head stomp situation. So yeah, figure it out. And that should be a lot of the gimmicks that you'll end up running into, other than just play styles that, every character can play, or most characters can play, that we're going to have to talk about. So yeah,